The morning sun had barely risen when the 6 students from St. Peter's College boarded the old white school bus. Their blazers shone proudly. Today, they were heading to represent their school in the state debate championship. At the front sat Ada, the team leader, brilliant, bold, and deeply prayerful. Behind her were Tund, the class clown, Ifioma, the timid one, Musa, the ever-curious one, and the twins, F and S.A., inseparable and full of jokes. Their teacher, Mr. Baco, was driving. The air was filled with laughter, dreams, and the smell of groundnuts and hope. But halfway through the lonely highway that cut across the dense Odu Forest, everything changed. Without warning, a black van screeched across their path. Mr. Baco slammed the brakes too late. Masked men poured out, shouting commands. Guns glinted under the harsh morning light. The students froze. Within seconds, the bus doors were thrown open, and they were dragged out one by one. Keep quiet. Move. A deep voice thundered. The laughter that once filled the bus vanished, replaced by fear and the pounding of hearts. The kidnappers blindfolded them, forced them into the van, and drove off. For hours, all they heard were the sounds of gravel, muffled whispers, and then silence. When the blindfolds were removed, they were inside an abandoned warehouse deep in the forest. Crates, rats, and the smell of damp earth surrounded them. The leader of the kidnappers, a tall man with a scar running across his face, paced before them. "Your school will pay," he said coldly. "If they don't, none of you will leave this place alive." Fear gripped them. Night fell. The air grew colder. Hunger gnawed at their stomachs. Ifioma began to cry quietly. Ada held her hand and whispered, "We won't die here. God didn't bring us this far to end in darkness." They huddled together, praying softly Psalms 91, again and again. 2 days passed. No food, no rescue. Hope began to fade. But on the second night, something strange happened. A fierce storm broke out. Thunder roared across the forest. Rain lashed against the old warehouse roof. The kidnappers cursed, trying to keep the leaking roof from collapsing. Then suddenly a flash of lightning struck a nearby tree, setting it ablaze. The kidnappers panicked. One of them ran outside shouting. Another tried to shoot into the air, but the wind howled so fiercely that he dropped his weapon. Amid the chaos, Ada whispered, "Now." They pushed the crates aside, finding a loose wooden panel at the back wall. One by one, they crawled out through the gaps, soaked, trembling, but determined. As they ran through the forest, branches tore at their clothes. Behind them, shouts echoed. They've escaped. Gunshots followed. But then the rain intensified, turning the forest into a blur of mist and mud. The sound of the shots faded. After hours of wandering, they saw headlights, a police patrol van. The officers stopped, shocked to see the drenched, exhausted students stumbling out of the forest. Within an hour, the kidnappers were surrounded and arrested. The scar-faced leader was caught trying to flee through a swamp. Back at school, as the students stood before the assembly, Ada raised her hand and said, voice trembling, "We didn't win a debate, but we witnessed a miracle. God himself debated with death and won." The hall erupted in tears, applause, and prayer. That day, St. Peter's College learned something far greater than words, that faith speaks louder than fear, and when all hope seems lost, heaven still answers.